Over 60 years ago, in the midst of war, poverty, and racism, Martin Luther King Jr. called out not just the soul of America, but the soul of activism itself. He had declared that he had decided to love.
We must work unceasingly to lift this nation that we love to a higher destiny, to a new plateau of compassion, to a more noble expression of humaneness.
How do we stay human in dehumanizing times? How do we find our way back to the kind of democracy that lives not just in institutions, but in how we treat one another? Today's polarizing culture wars are numbing us to the sound of the genuine in ourselves and others. In this video, you'll hear the powerful words and stories from those at the edge of death, leaders who reached across deep divides, and even a former neo-Nazi who's part of a growing number of people breaking free from violent and hateful ideologies. The message that unites all of these stories is that what transforms a divided world isn't just more negative news and the same old talking points. It's the relationships that break the cycle of hate, fear, and dehumanization. These are stories of love showing up in the darkest places. After spending decades at the bedside of over 1,000 dying people across the world, hospice nurse and death doula Suzanne O'Brien has seen a common thread in Final Regrets. People wish they had let themselves be more vulnerable, to give and receive love more freely. And then there's British physician Dr. Sam Parnia, who has spent his career investigating what happens when people die, compelled by this striking phenomena he encountered as a leading researcher in cardiac arrest and resuscitation. His work brought him face to face with people on the edge of death, or those who had been declared clinically dead and then revived. Patient after patient returned from cardiac arrest with these detailed, vivid recollections, often describing moral life reviews and expanded states of awareness. And what struck him the most was that people never dwelled on their achievements or material success. What surfaced again and again were the relational moments, how they treated others, whether they caused harm or kindness, whether they allowed themselves to love or withheld it out of fear. In his book, Lucid Dying, he writes that consciousness doesn't end with death, and that people often return with this deep conviction that each of our actions, thoughts, and intentions in life, from the most minute to the most extreme, do matter.
But we've studied thousands of people whose hearts have stopped and who've had recollections. They end up reevaluating their lives in a deeply purposeful manner. What they're really experiencing is every interaction that they've had with other living beings, whether human or otherwise. And they're reliving what they did, but also reliving how the other person or the other entity felt and what they experienced as a result of the interactions that were happening. So they're feeling both perspectives. And they come to recognize that there was a higher purpose to their life, which was to better themselves based upon morality and ethics. And this is completely universal. It doesn't matter what people believed. It doesn't matter where they came from. It's the same overall understanding. One day it's going to be every single listener to this who's going to suddenly find that they have a very limited time left of this time that they had. And so it doesn't make sense for us to ignore the deeper questions about what happens when we die. What is the higher purpose to life? How do we better our humanity? Which is what the message that comes out from research in death. I think it would make a huge change to society. It's made me highly cognizant and attentive, or try to be attentive to every moment, because every interaction we have with other people, to try to be cognizant of how am I conducting myself. As somebody once said, could I have done a better job in that interaction with others? And imagine if we all do that, rather than being self-focused, but also be focused equally on other people, what a better society it would be. So not only are we hoping to save people's lives, but also this would impact society in a very positive manner.
Libyan-born Muslim immigrant Mohammed Bazik's life mission is to take care of terminally ill foster children who have nobody else in their final weeks on Earth. Since 1989, he's cared for 80 children who would have otherwise spent their final days dying alone in hospitals. 10 of them lost their lives in his arms.
There's many kids nobody want to take them, because especially the one who gonna die, nobody wants to deal with death, you know. There is no bond. There's nobody holding them, nobody talk to them. I always talk with my kids. Doesn't matter if blind or deaf, I always talk to them, because I believe they are a human being, they have soul, they have feeling. They are very scared. They need security. They need somebody to tell them, I love you, I am here for you, I need to help you, I will help you, we'll go through this difficult time together as a family. I wish all humanity live in harmony and peace together, love each other, help each other, and take care of each other, and help each other. Doesn't matter, regardless of religion, color, background, ethnicity. We are a human being.
Shirley Chisholm, the first black congresswoman in the U.S., was battling for the Democratic presidential nomination with political rival George Wallace, a fierce segregationist. After he was shot in an attempted assassination, Chisholm visited him in the hospital and prayed at his bedside. Wallace's daughter later said that gesture of compassion completely changed her father. Wallace reportedly wept openly and shifted his stance on racial segregation. In an article for The Guardian, black musician Daryl Davis reflects on the racism he experienced as a child. How can you hate me when you don't even know me? He said the answer was always, there's always some people who are just like that. Well, that wasn't good enough for me. What does just like that mean? Where does that come from? You're not born just like that. Davis decided to travel the country, interviewing and engaging in dialogue with KKK leaders and Klan members.
It's not so much about the Ku Klux Klan as it is about building relationships and understanding and embracing differences.
Davis stands by his values of respect and curiosity. As someone who has helped over 200 KKK members disavow their allegiances.
Let's say you and 20 other people have this group that is anti-racist. And all you do is talk about how bad racism is. All you do is preaching to the choir. If you and I agree, I'm not accomplishing anything by trying to convince you of what you already know. The way you resolve that is you invite somebody to the table who disagrees with you. So you'll understand why they have that point of view. Then perhaps you would figure out a solution to dissuade their fears.
Well, CNN got wind of this and wanted to do a story. I got the name of the head of the Klan in Maryland.
Davis thinks that his presence promotes badly needed understanding.
Hate stems, I believe, from fear of the unknown. And I think this is all across the board, regardless of whether it's a Klansman or anything else.
But he has no illusions about the Klan. If he did, his friend would be quick to disabuse them.
I believe in separation of the races. I believe that's in the best interest of all races.
Does he really? Or has friendship transcended the color barrier? Listen to Kelly at a Klan rally.
I will follow right man to hell on back, because I believe in what he stands for and he believes in what I stand for. A lot of times we don't agree with everything, but at least he respects me to sit down and listen to me. And I respect him to sit down and listen to him.
But he respected me to sit down and listen to him, and in exchange, he sat down and listened to me.
I did not respect what he had to say. I respected his right to say it.
We get to know one another and we do different things, you know. It hasn't changed my views about the Klan, you know, because my views on the Klan's been pretty much cemented in my mind for years.
We kept on doing that.
He and I became the best of friends.
And over a period of time, that cement that was in his mind that held his ideas together began to crack. And then it crumbled. And then a few years later, Roger Kelly quit the Ku Klux Klan. Today, he no longer believes in what he said on that video.
Sitting down and talking, not necessarily agreeing, but respecting each other to air their points of view. Because of that respect and my willingness to listen and his willingness to listen to me, he ended up leaving the Klan, and there's his robe right there. I am a musician, not a psychologist or sociologist.
The way to solve this is you people. Let's talk to each other. Let's get the job done. Thank you all very much.
Infiltrating the Klan ain't freeing your people.
I disagree with you.
I don't see how. Befriending a white person who don't have to go through the same struggles as you, me, the son in the barbershop, or that father, that's not an accomplishment. That's a new friend. White supremacists can't change, but I can change your mind because you look like me. You ain't doing nothing but collecting something that's going to build your own credibility. You nothing but a pimp in a pulpit.
Hey, I'm Daryl Davis.
Sorry, Daryl. After that, I can't shake your hand right now.
Okay.
I just want to be. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but
just like the young man said to you, you could have done a whole lot more work in the black community from the 90s to now to move our people forward rather than coming in here and trying to uplift somebody that you got a hood off of their head. My young men in Baltimore who are out here putting their lives on the line. Kwame marches hard with me in Baltimore. Kwame gets arrested in Baltimore. Where were you when the marches were going on? You were sitting with your Klan people and disrespecting my people. If you can't respect black people and respect my people for doing the work that they're doing, take your ass and you hang out with them. Freddie Gray is dead. Tyrone West is dead. Anthony Anderson is dead. All that shit you talking about, these KKK hoods, who gives a shit? I don't give a shit about you or your KKK hoods. Don't come to Baltimore doing this shit again. Don't come back here.
I can't talk now?
You can talk, but don't talk that shit to me.
Sit down and be quiet and let me talk to you.
Get the fuck out of my face, man.
See how you are? You show your own ignorance, man.
no. You don't talk to the white supremacists like that.
You don't know what I do. You don't know what I do.
Let me tell you something. Walk through where we come from, and you're going to have some things.
Let's walk together.
All of you, if you didn't know him, you know him now.
This man hates himself.
For real. If y'all following this dude, y'all part of the problem.
A Klansman hates a white person who sells out, so to speak, more so than they hate a black person. Just like the young boy hated me more than he hated some white guy because he felt I sold out my own race. He was very definite that white people could not change. How is he going to advance any agenda in this country as diverse as it is? The friends that I've made, I continue to keep. I never set out to convert anybody. I just set out to get that answer to my question. How can you hate me if you don't even know me? And in my quest to have that answer, they couldn't answer it. And some of them ended up converting themselves.
How do we live from a love that sees the human before the judgment or label, regardless of the media's version of their story? Black civil rights feminist and Smith College professor Loretta Ross has focused on transforming the world through healing cancel culture, the readiness to alienate and dehumanize a person on the basis of their beliefs.
I come to y'all because most black women don't go to Ku Klux Klan rallies on purpose. I did because it was my job. I monitored hate groups. My mentor at the time was the legendary civil rights leader, Rev CT Viviot, who'd been an aide to Dr. Martin Luther King. And CT used to say, when you ask people to give up hate, then you need to be there for them when they do. But his words didn't make any sense to me, because if the Klan hated black folks, I was all right with hating them back. Sounded okay to me. But then something happened. It became my job to help people who were leaving hate groups. And then once I got to know them, I couldn't hate them anymore. And then I got confused. I'm a survivor of racial violence, rape, and incest. And I needed to find another moral compass for my life's work. And that compass had to shift from hate to love. I really, really want to build a culture and a world that invites people in instead of pushing them out. Now, some people really do believe that the only way to do human rights work is the way they want, my way or the highway. But the problem is, when many different people think many different thoughts and they move in the same direction, that's a movement. But when many different people think one thought and they move in the same direction, that's a cult. And when you treat potential allies like enemies, you're behaving like a cult, not the human rights movement.
Christian Picholini is the co-founder of Life After Hate, a nonprofit dedicated to helping people leave extremism and hate groups. Through his work, he has helped hundreds of former white nationalists and extremists break free from violent ideologies. At age 14, Picholini was recruited into a neo-Nazi skinhead group, spending much of his early life leading a violent gang and performing racist music. Yet as he got older, deeply human encounters with those he was taught to hate began to transform him. At first, these revelations disturbed him to the core. I was afraid to be worthless. What leads people to these movements is not the ideology. The ideology is simply the final component that gives them permission to be angry. The truth is, I've never met or had a meaningful dialogue or engagement with anybody that I thought I hated. Meeting on a fundamental human level is still the most powerful thing I've seen to break hate. Wrestling with shame and an identity crisis after leaving the white supremacist movement, Picholini found himself on the brink of suicide. A friend stepped in and encouraged him to get a job at IBM. And in a twist of fate, his first assignment was installing computers at the very high school where he had once committed acts of hate and violence against students and staff.
Who walks right by me but Mr. Johnny Holmes, the tough black security guard I'd gotten in a fist fight with that got me kicked out the second time and let out in handcuffs from the school. But I decided I had to do something. And I decided I needed to suffer under the weight of my past. Because for 5 years I had tried to outrun it. I tried to make new friends and cover my tattoos with long sleeves, and I wouldn't admit it because I was afraid of being judged the same way that I had judged other people. But when I found him, he was getting into his car, and I tapped him on the shoulder. And when he turned around and he recognized me, he took a step back because he was afraid. And I didn't know what to say. Finally, the words came out of my mouth, and all I could think to say was, "I'm sorry." And he embraced me, and he forgave me. And he encouraged me to forgive myself. He knew that this was the story of every young person who was vulnerable, who was searching for identity, community, and purpose, and then hit a wall and was unable to find it and went down a dark path. And he made me promise one thing, that I would tell my story to whoever would listen. That was 18 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since.
In 1946, Albert Einstein made a call to let the people know that a new type of thinking is essential if mankind is to survive and move to higher levels. We will never end war and genocide unless we change the mindset that created it. War cannot defeat war. Only love can stop war. My love and my forgiveness do not depend on you. I want to forgive you for what you have done to my people, the genocide and the eradication process. This might be our last chance to put an end to this genocidal and suicidal mindset. I love you, and there is nothing you can do about it. Let's help awaken this innate knowing in other people. Let's go beyond narratives that are designed to disempower and divide us. What's on the other side? If this video touches something genuine in you, we invite you to like, comment, subscribe, and share this widely. Join us in being a part of this global team of loving, courageous people dedicated to transformation on this planet.